President Biden tours Florida hurricane damage. Governor DeSantis absent. President Joe Biden recently embarked on a trip to Florida to assess the extensive aftermath left in the wake of Hurricane Idalia. While such visits are typically characterized by a unified effort between state and federal leadership, this particular excursion stood out as an exception due to the conspicuous absence of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The coordination of President Biden's trip had been a collaborative effort between the White House and the governor's office. However, the absence of Governor DeSantis during the visit raised eyebrows, as it is customary for the sitting governor of a state to be present when the President of the United States arrives. The President himself reflected on this anomaly during his visit, drawing parallels to his own experiences. He recalled how he had campaigned against Bill and Hillary Clinton but had shown up when President Clinton visited Florida. Biden emphasized that such moments are not merely political pep rallies but essential opportunities for leaders to come together and provide support, as federal aid often follows a presidential visit. In response to questions regarding Governor DeSantis' absence, President Biden expressed understanding, noting that the governor may have had other commitments. Biden highlighted that DeSantis had been involved in planning the visit, collaborating with FEMA to determine where the president's presence would cause the least disruption to ongoing recovery efforts. Initially, the White House had announced plans for a meeting between President Biden and Governor DeSantis during the visit. However, later in the day, the governor's press office issued a statement to NBC News, explaining that due to the recent impact of the hurricane on rural communities and the extensive security preparations required for such a meeting. During his visit, President Biden did meet with former Florida Governor and current Senator Rick Scott at an elementary school being utilized as a Red Cross shelter. It would potentially hinder the ongoing recovery efforts. Senator Scott commended Biden for his leadership, particularly acknowledging the prompt federal response to the disaster, which included early declarations and swift approval of FEMA assistance, both individual and public. Senator Scott's positive sentiments towards President Biden underscored the importance of bipartisanship and collaboration in times of crisis, emphasizing that leaders should be able to put aside their ideological differences to serve the best interests of their constituents. In this spirit, Scott highlighted the need for effective communication between leaders of different political affiliations to address issues that impact the American people. President Biden also reminisced about the era when political leaders could put aside their differences in times of tragedy or to assist their constituents. He emphasized that such collaboration was not challenging if the well-being of the people remained the top priority. Notably, there has been a well-documented personal dislike between President Biden and Senator Scott, with disagreements during the midterm campaigns, particularly regarding Scott's Medicare and Social Security plans. However, their ability to put aside these differences during the hurricane's aftermath showcased their commitment to the common good. It's worth mentioning that Governor DeSantis had appeared with President Biden on 2 previous occasions during earlier disasters, a hurricane and a building collapse, just months into Biden's term. The change in approach during this visit appeared to be linked to DeSantis' presidential ambitions and the potential political implications of a joint public appearance with the president. Furthermore, it's essential to note that behind the scenes, President Biden and Governor DeSantis had been in constant communication throughout the hurricane's lead-up, occurrence, and aftermath. Their willingness to collaborate privately highlighted the governor's reluctance to engage in public appearances with the president. This situation extends beyond Governor DeSantis and President Biden. It exemplifies a broader trend in contemporary politics where bipartisan cooperation is often viewed as a liability rather than a virtue. The reluctance to stand alongside leaders from opposing parties in times of crisis sends a message to younger politicians that doing the right thing can be perceived as a political liability. In conclusion, President Biden's visit to Florida after Hurricane Idalia showcased the importance of bipartisan cooperation during times of crisis. Despite political differences, leaders should prioritize the well-being of their constituents and work together for the common good. The absence of Governor DeSantis during this visit underscored the challenges in contemporary politics when it comes to putting aside differences for the greater good.